A lie may travel fast, but it always runs out of breath when it meets the truth. That's exactly what happened in your story. Except in your case, the lie didn't just run out of breath. It crashed into the wrong person. And the moment that happened, the entire atmosphere around you shifted. People who used to watch you closely suddenly started keeping their distance, acting like you're holding classified information about their future. And in a way, you are. Here's a fact most people never think about. Over 70% of social conflicts don't come from the truth. They come from miscommunication, half-truths, and people trying to impress the wrong audience. And when someone lies about you to the wrong person, it doesn't just create drama, it creates a psychological chain reaction. It exposes motives, it reveals insecurities, and it silently rearranges the power dynamics in a room. That's why you've noticed people stepping back from you. Not because you're intimidating, not because you're unapproachable, and not because you've suddenly become mysterious overnight. No, they're stepping back because their own lie has become the ghost haunting them. You're simply the reminder. The funny part? You didn't have to lift a finger. You didn't even know the lie was told. Yet somehow you became the one they tiptoe around, as if you're about to drop a plot twist during lunch. There's something beautifully ironic about watching people avoid the very person they tried to sabotage. It's almost poetic, in a messy, human, wow, you really did that kind of way. And the more you stay grounded, the more their anxiety grows, because guilt has a perfect memory, even when liars don't. So today, we're diving deep into why the chosen one, you, became the person they now keep their distance from. Not because you changed, but because their lie hit the wrong ears and flipped the entire script. And trust me, the story that unfolds from that moment is far more revealing than anything they tried to say about you. Number one, they're avoiding you because the person they lied to had the power to expose their entire social identity. When someone lies about you, it's usually because they assume the person they're talking to will swallow the story without checking the facts. They assume the listener is easy to sway, easy to influence, and won't question their motives. That's where this person miscalculated heavily. They lied to someone who wasn't just observing you from a distance. They were observing them too. And the moment the lie left their mouth, the listener instantly picked up on the insecurity behind it. This lie didn't just backfire. It exposed the truth about the liar. It showed their envy, their fear of losing relevance, and their need to distort your character to maintain their own importance. And the person they lied to wasn't naive. They've seen this behavior before, in other people, in other settings. They recognize the tone, the exaggeration, the unnecessary details, the exact signs that a lie is being dressed up as concern. Now the liar realizes they've done something irreversible. They didn't just speak badly of you. They revealed their own emotional instability to someone who actually matters, someone with influence, someone whose opinion shapes how others behave. And now they're terrified, not of you, but of the mirror that's been held up to them. The reason they avoid you now is simple. You've become the walking reminder of their biggest mistake. Whenever they see you, they remember the exact moment their lie cracked open their carefully crafted image. The person they lied to now watches them more closely, questions their behavior, and quietly weighs their words. And nothing scares a liar more than being under silent evaluation. They can't confront you because they don't want to confirm anything. They can't be around you because it triggers the memory of the moment they expose themselves. And they definitely can't pretend everything is fine, because their nervousness would say more than their silence ever could. So they keep their distance, hoping space will bury the guilt and delay the consequences. But deep down, they know the person they lied to is still paying attention, and that's what truly terrifies them. Number two, the person they lied to actually respects you more than they respect them. This is the silent truth that cuts deeper than any confrontation ever could. When someone spreads lies about you, they assume the listener will automatically side with them. They think their words will land, that their exaggerations will shape opinions, and that their carefully crafted story will give them control. But what they didn't account for is that respect isn't built on gossip or exaggeration. It's earned through consistency, integrity, and the quiet strength of being unshakable. And that's exactly what the listener noticed about you. From the outside, you may have seemed quiet, maybe even unassuming. You didn't react, you didn't defend yourself aggressively, and you didn't feel the need to explain every little detail. But that restraint, that steadiness, spoke volumes. The person they lied to could see through the noise of the liar's story and recognize who actually carries weight in reality, who has substance, and who behaves with authenticity. While the liar was busy performing, you were simply existing, and your existence proved far more compelling than any false narrative. Now the liar is the one scrambling. They wanted to plant doubt about you, but instead they planted doubt about themselves. Every subtle nod of trust, every quiet agreement, every moment the listener instinctively defended your character, they saw it all. They realized that the respect you commanded was natural, earned silently over time, and impossible to manufacture. And with that realization comes fear. Fear that the liar's influence is shrinking, that their attempts to manipulate perception have failed, and that the very person they tried to impress with false information is now seeing them for what they are: insecure, jealous, and transparent. So while the liar hides, avoids, and second-guesses every step, you remain steady and invisible in your power. The listener's respect for you grows quietly but unmistakably, creating a silent shift that the liar cannot escape. And nothing rattles a liar more than seeing someone they tried to undermine rise in respect effortlessly, without saying a single word. The truth isn't loud, it's just undeniable, and the listener knows it, which is why the liar now keeps their distance. Number three, distance is their damage control strategy, not their peace strategy. When someone lies about you, the natural reaction isn't always confrontation. Often it's avoidance. But make no mistake, when they stay away, it's not because they've found inner calm or decided to let things go. It's a calculated move, a form of damage control disguised as peace. They've realized that proximity is dangerous. Being near you forces them to face the consequences of their own words. And that's terrifying. Every glance, every casual conversation, every small interaction becomes a potential threat to the story they tried to sell. This is why distance becomes their weapon. By stepping back, they hope to buy themselves time, create a buffer, and pretend that everything is fine. They want to avoid awkward questions, uncomfortable truths, or even subtle reminders of the reality they tried to manipulate. It's not about respecting boundaries or seeking calm. It's about self-preservation. They know that being around you, even briefly, could unravel the delicate narrative they built. And that realization is both humiliating and paralyzing. The irony is that while they think distance protects them, it only amplifies the truth. Their retreat signals guilt more than anything else. Every time they step back, they're broadcasting their awareness that they crossed a line. And you don't even have to lift a finger. Your presence alone highlights the contrast between the lie they told and the reality they're now forced to avoid. Distance also forces them into a state of constant overthinking. Every decision, every interaction with others, every small action becomes a potential trigger for exposure. They've trapped themselves in a web of their own making. The further they step away, the more they feel the invisible pull of accountability, and the more anxious they become about the moment when someone might finally connect the dots. So the truth of it is simple. They're not at peace. Their silence, their avoidance, and their careful steps backward are all emergency measures. They're desperately trying to contain the fallout of a lie that hit the wrong ears, and every step they take only proves the power of the very person they tried to undermine. Number 4, they realize the person they lied to is quietly watching them now. The moment someone tells a lie about you, they assume it's a one-way street. They speak, and the listener believes. But some people don't just listen, they observe. And that's exactly what happened here. The person they lied to didn't react with drama or confrontation. They didn't spread rumors or call anyone out. They simply started paying attention, quietly noting every inconsistency, every nervous twitch, every over-explained detail. And the liar, at some point, noticed. This quiet observation is more powerful than confrontation. It's subtle, almost invisible, but it carries weight. The liar can feel it, even if they don't want to admit it. Every interaction, every look, every casual comment is being measured against the story they told. And the more they notice that their audience isn't buying what they sold, the more paranoid they become. They're trapped in a spotlight they didn't realize existed, under the gaze of someone who is fully aware, fully alert, and fully capable of connecting the dots. The tension this creates is unbearable for them. They begin overthinking every word they speak, every step they take, and every casual mention of you. The silent watcher holds the ultimate power. They can confirm or contradict the lie at any time, and the liar knows it. The thought alone is enough to make them avoid you, to retreat, to create distance. They can't risk accidental exposure, not when even one moment of carelessness could unravel everything. It's ironic because the person who lied thought they were controlling the narrative. They assumed power by speaking first, by crafting a story that suited their ego. But they underestimated the quiet observer who sees more than the words. They see intent, behavior, and character. And now, the liar is the one being judged, monitored, and second-guessed. This is why they step back, why they keep their distance, and why even a casual encounter feels dangerous. They're not avoiding confrontation with you. They're avoiding the watchful eye of the person they lied to, someone who doesn't need drama to know the truth. And that silent observation is what turns their lie into a cage, locking them in fear while you continue untouched, moving with clarity and confidence. Number 5, they're terrified the lie will resurface in a casual conversation and expose them effortlessly. When someone spreads a lie about you, they usually think they've built a strong enough story to survive casual scrutiny. They imagine it slipping through conversations unnoticed, quietly influencing opinions while they remain untouchable. But the problem is that lies have a way of resurfacing at the most inconvenient moments. A single offhand remark, a casual question, or even a passing observation from someone who knows the truth can collapse their entire narrative in an instant. And that possibility terrifies them. They understand that the person they lied to is connected to others, listening, observing, and piecing things together without ever saying a word. Every group interaction, every subtle comment from mutual acquaintances becomes a potential trigger for exposure. The liar starts imagining the domino effect. One casual conversation could reveal inconsistencies, contradictions, and the faint echo of the truth, all pointing back to their deception. And the thought of being caught off guard, without a prepared excuse, sends them into a spiral of avoidance. This fear of exposure changes everything. It affects how they behave around you, how they interact with mutual friends, and even how they carry themselves in public. Every word they speak is calculated, every move carefully considered, and every interaction with you avoided whenever possible. They know that proximity increases risk, and that risk is enough to keep them at arm's length. What's remarkable is that none of this has anything to do with you actively confronting them. You may not even be aware of the lie, and yet their entire behavior revolves around avoiding an invisible trap they themselves created. The lie isn't just a story, it's a ticking time bomb, and they are the ones living in constant fear of it going off. So while they try to maintain appearances, their anxiety is visible to anyone who pays attention. They're trapped in a self-made prison of fear, avoiding the very person they tried to undermine. And all the while you continue moving through life with clarity and calm, completely unaffected, as the truth quietly works in your favor, exposing them without a single effort from your side. Number 6. They're avoiding you because you turned out to be more consistent than the lie they built. Consistency is a quiet form of power, and it's something liars can never match. When someone spreads falsehoods about you, they are betting on your imperfections or on moments they can twist to fit their narrative. They assume that over time, their story will seem more believable than your reality. But consistency is relentless, and it doesn't need to shout to be noticed. Every day you live your life without drama, every decision you make that aligns with your values, every interaction that proves your integrity, these are all silent contradictions to the lie, and the liar knows it. They watch as the world continues to see you in the light of your actions, and every small, unshakable display of consistency is a nail in the coffin of their fabricated story. They told others that you are unreliable, unpredictable, or flawed in some damaging way, yet every day reality paints a different picture. Your behavior doesn't need defending because it defends itself. That contrast eats away at them quietly, a creeping dread they cannot escape. This is why avoidance becomes their default response. Being around you is dangerous because your presence, your calm, and your predictable integrity constantly remind everyone of the lie they spread. They can't argue with reality, and the more they try, the more obvious their dishonesty becomes. Consistency has this effect. It exposes gaps, highlights contradictions, and renders falsehoods powerless without anyone needing to intervene. It's not just about proving them wrong. It's about the subtle shift in perception. People who once might have believed the lie start noticing the cracks in the story, and they naturally gravitate toward the truth they see in you. The liar senses this shift, and it terrifies them. They wanted control, but you didn't have to fight for it. You already had it by simply being consistent, steady, and authentic. That's why they avoid you now. Every glance, every passing encounter threatens to remind them and everyone else of the truth they tried and failed to suppress. Your life quietly exposes the lie, and there's no argument, no drama, no confrontation needed. The consistency alone is more powerful than anything they could say. Number 7. Seeing you forces them to confront the fact that they misjudged the wrong person. When someone lies about you, it's because they've already made a judgment, a false assumption that you are weak, irrelevant, or easily manipulated. They built a story in their mind where they had the upper hand, and in that story you were the one who would bend, crumble, or fade into the background. But reality has a way of delivering a brutal plot twist. When they see you in your element, steady, composed, and unshaken, it forces them to confront a truth they weren't ready for. They misjudged the wrong person. That moment of recognition is terrifying for them. They wanted to control the narrative, to shape perception in a way that benefited their ego. Instead, they accidentally revealed their own insecurities and overestimated your supposed vulnerabilities. Every action of yours that contradicts their story, your calm, intense situations, your ability to command respect without effort, your clarity in handling situations they thought would overwhelm you, becomes a mirror reflecting their error. And mirrors don't lie. They can feel the weight of that misjudgment in every glance, every interaction, every casual observation. The person they lied to may even notice the subtle cracks in their confidence, and that awareness amplifies their fear. They understand on a deep level that they targeted someone far stronger than they imagined. The lie they told doesn't just fail, it backfires, exposing their own miscalculation and creating a silent humiliation that they can't escape. Avoiding you becomes the only strategy that makes sense to them. Staying away is an attempt to stop confronting the uncomfortable truth about their poor judgment. They want to avoid situations where the reality of your strength, integrity, and authenticity will remind everyone, including themselves, of the mistake they made. Meanwhile, you move through life untouched by their lies or assumptions. Their misjudgment becomes invisible to you, but it controls them. Every step they take backward, every hesitation, every retreat is fueled by the awareness that they bet on the wrong person, and that you, quietly and effortlessly, were never the one to misstep. Number 8. They fear that the person they lied to might someday choose to verify the story by talking to you directly. When someone spreads a lie about you, they operate under the assumption that the people they told it to won't bother checking the facts. They imagine that their version of events will hold, that it will settle in minds and shape perceptions without challenge. But the problem for them is that not everyone blindly accepts what they hear. The person they lied to may, at any moment, decide to cross-reference the story, to see if the narrative matches reality. That thought alone is enough to make a liar panic and retreat. The fear isn't about confrontation. It isn't even about you actively defending yourself. It's the anticipation that someone might quietly, casually, and innocently come to the truth. Even a simple conversation, a chance encounter, a casual comment, a subtle question could unravel their entire constructed tale. They know deep down that you speak with integrity, that your actions and words naturally reveal the truth, and that the moment verification happens, their carefully built illusion collapses without resistance. This fear forces them into avoidance. They step back, keep their distance, and try to minimize any interaction that could create the opportunity for verification. Every casual gathering, every shared space, every mutual connection feels like a risk. They are aware that the person they lied to has power. Not overt power, but the quiet, potent kind that comes from knowing the truth and having the ability to spread it at the right moment. The irony is that their efforts to avoid exposure make them look even more suspicious. Their distance, their hesitation, their subtle avoidance signals guilt in ways they cannot control. Meanwhile, you continue living consistently, authentically, and quietly, unaware of the ripple effect. The truth is already on your side. It doesn't need to confront them. It only needs to exist, and it has a way of finding those who will recognize it. Their fear of verification keeps them away because they understand, whether consciously or not, that one direct connection between you and the person they lied to is all it would take to end the story they tried so hard to create. And the reality is, they can't stop it. They can only retreat from it. Number 9. They know the person they lied to has now become protective of you. The moment someone spreads a lie about you, they assume the person they're speaking to will either passively accept it or remain neutral. What they rarely anticipate is that the listener might shift into an unexpected role, that of a silent guardian. The person they lied to begins observing more closely, noticing your character, your actions, your integrity, and how the lie contrasts with reality. Gradually, without announcing it, they start protecting you, not because they owe you anything, but because they recognize the truth and instinctively oppose injustice. This shift terrifies the liar. They aim to control perception, but instead, They created a scenario where someone is now indirectly defending you. Every subtle action, every small comment in a group, every instinctive support for you becomes a quiet barrier between them and influence. They see that the listener now weighs their words carefully, questions their motives, and unconsciously counters their narrative. That protective presence is invisible yet undeniable. It's a reminder that the liar is no longer the authority in the room. Someone else is watching, evaluating and siding with reality. What makes it worse for them is that this protection isn't loud or confrontational. There's no drama, no public call-out. It's quiet, subtle and effective. Every time the liar tries to regain control, they realize the person they lied to has already anticipated the move. They know that you now have an ally whose judgment cannot be swayed by exaggeration or manipulation. Their attempts to manipulate the narrative become risky because they understand that any overstep will be noticed and countered, so they avoid you. It isn't about anger or fear of a direct confrontation. It's about acknowledging the invisible protective force that now surrounds you. That silent shield built from respect, observation, and an understanding of the truth makes every approach feel dangerous. They retreat because proximity increases the chance of exposure, and exposure would mean facing both the undeniable truth of who you are and the quiet power of someone who has chosen to defend it. In the end, they're trapped not by confrontation, but by accountability, subtle, patient, and relentless. And all of it exists without you lifting a finger. Number 10, they're afraid to face the version of themselves that the lie revealed. When someone lies about you, it's not just about trying to control your image. It's also a reflection of who they are underneath. The lie exposes more than it conceals. It reveals envy, insecurity, and a fear of being outshined. Deep down, they know the story they spun isn't just false. It's a window into their own character flaws. And that realization is terrifying, because facing it would mean admitting to themselves the truth they've been trying to hide. The lie becomes a mirror, and mirrors don't lie. Every time they think about what they said, who they told it to, and how it could come back to haunt them, they're forced to confront their own shortcomings. Their ego wants to deny it. Their mind wants to rationalize it. But the core truth remains undeniable. In trying to attack you, they expose themselves. This is the psychological weight they carry. You might never speak a word, but their actions, avoidance, and hesitation show the internal battle raging within them. Avoidance becomes their coping mechanism. They stay away from you not because of fear of confrontation from you, but because seeing you in your element, calm, confident, and unshaken, forces them to see the stark contrast between their truth and your reality. They can't face the fact that they let jealousy, insecurity, or fear guide their actions. You exist as a constant reminder of the gap between who they are pretending to be and who they really are, and that reminder is uncomfortable beyond words. Their distance, their silence, and their careful behavior around you are all attempts to escape self-reflection. Every encounter threatens to bring the lie into focus, along with the uncomfortable truths about themselves it unveiled. Meanwhile, you move forward untouched, unaware of the internal chaos your mere presence stirs. They are trapped by the reflection of themselves in the lie they created, and no amount of avoidance can erase the fact that their own choices, driven by their flaws, force them into retreat. The irony is stark. Their fear isn't of you, it's of the person they've shown themselves to be. And that fear keeps them at a distance, powerless, and quietly haunted by the truth. Number 11. The lie created a new hierarchy, and they hate the position they put themselves in. When someone lies about you, it's often an attempt to establish dominance, to manipulate perception, and to make themselves appear stronger, smarter, or more important than you. They want to climb an invisible ladder of influence by pushing you down a rung. But the truth has a funny way of flipping the script. The lie, instead of elevating them, exposes their insecurities, and suddenly the hierarchy they tried to create collapses in on itself. They end up in a lower, weaker position than they intended, and that shift terrifies them. The person they lied to sees through the distortion and quietly aligns their perception with reality. People around notice inconsistencies, gaps, and moments where the liar's story doesn't match real-life behavior. Slowly, almost invisibly, the balance of influence shifts. You, the one who was targeted, emerge stronger, steady, and unshakable, while the liar realizes that their attempt to dominate has backfired. They're no longer in control. They're the one being scrutinized, evaluated, and mentally ranked. This new hierarchy is bitter medicine for them. They wanted power, but all they got was exposure. Every interaction you have, every decision you make, every calm reaction to a situation reminds them of their failed attempt to manipulate perception. They hate the position they put themselves in because it's uncomfortable, visible, and undeniable. Their social currency has diminished without them being able to reverse it. The avoidance that follows is a direct response to this shift. They retreat not because you forced them, but because their place in the social order has been quietly but clearly redefined. Staying away is their way of coping, pretending that the hierarchy is intact and minimizing the embarrassment of facing the reality they created. The irony is that their lie, meant to elevate them, has solidified your standing while exposing their fragility. And now every step they take is dictated by the invisible ladder they once tried to climb, but ended up falling down, leaving them forced into retreat, powerless, and painfully aware of the hierarchy they miscalculated. Number 12. They miscalculated your quiet influence and now feel threatened by it. The person who lied about you never saw your reach coming. They assumed that because you didn't fight back, because you didn't react loudly or aggressively, you had little sway over others. They believed silence was weakness, calmness was passivity, and composure meant you were easy to manipulate. That assumption couldn't be further from the truth. Your influence doesn't scream for attention. It works quietly, steadily, and powerfully. And once they realized this, fear set in. Your reputation, built on authenticity, consistency, and integrity, naturally draws people in. They notice the way others instinctively trust you, respect your judgment, and value your presence. Even without you saying a word, your influence becomes undeniable, like an undercurrent that guides perception and opinion. The liar, who thought they were controlling the narrative, suddenly finds themselves outmaneuvered. Their words no longer carry weight, their manipulations falter, and their attempts to control how others see you crumble quietly in the background. This realization is terrifying for them because influence is power. The more people respect and trust you, the more isolated they feel, the more powerless they become. They miscalculated entirely, expecting that the person they lied to would be swayed, that your silence would be a liability, and that your character wouldn't matter. Instead, your quiet strength amplifies the truth, exposes their falsehood, and positions you as someone others instinctively gravitate toward. Avoidance becomes their only coping mechanism. Every time they think about approaching you, about interacting even indirectly, they are reminded of your reach, your credibility, and the natural authority your presence commands. They know they can't undo the shift. They can't diminish the respect you've quietly earned, and they can't reverse the awareness of those who see through their lies. In the end, the very thing they underestimated, your quiet influence, becomes their undoing. Their fear, their distance, and their retreat are not signs of your strength, but of the threat they now feel from it. You didn't need to prove anything. You simply existed authentically, and that existence turned their miscalculation into a silent, undeniable reality that keeps them at a distance, powerless and aware. Number 13. They know the lie didn't land because your life keeps contradicting the story. When someone spreads a lie about you, they're betting on perception, hoping that their version of events will shape reality. They craft the story carefully, choosing words that they think will stick, exaggerating weaknesses, and painting a picture that benefits their ego. But life has a way of speaking louder than any fabricated tale, and in your case, your life constantly contradicts everything they said. Every decision you make, every action you take, and every interaction you have quietly disproves their story, and they know it. This realization terrifies them, because the truth isn't something they can control. They expected confusion, hesitation, or doubt from others, but instead people see the reality of who you are. The lie begins to unravel silently, unnoticed by most, but painfully obvious to the liar. The gap between the false narrative they created and your actual life grows wider every day. Every example of your competence, integrity, and calm presence is a reminder that their story doesn't fit into reality. What's worse for them is that you don't even have to actively defend yourself. Your life does it for you. They wanted to manipulate opinions, but all their efforts highlight their desperation rather than your flaws. They watch as others naturally align with reality, recognizing inconsistencies in what was said, and the panic sets in. Their lie doesn't just fail, it exposes their judgment, their insecurity, and their need to overreach. This is why they stay away. Being near you would only intensify the reminder that they miscalculated, that their attempt to manipulate perception is crumbling, and that you are untouchable in the quiet, unassuming power of your authenticity. Every moment they avoid you is an admission that they can't compete with reality. Your life contradicts their story effortlessly, consistently, and undeniably, leaving them trapped in fear, retreating further, and silently haunted by the truth they tried and failed to suppress. Number 14. Staying away is their only way to avoid being revealed, because the truth is starting to gather witnesses. The moment someone lies about you to the wrong person, they unknowingly set in motion a chain reaction that they cannot control. Every lie has a life of its own, but when the story lands with someone perceptive, it begins attracting attention in subtle, unstoppable ways. People who observe, listen, and connect the dots start to notice inconsistencies. They start piecing together the truth without anyone explicitly stating it. And that is what terrifies the liar. They realize that staying close to you isn't safe. Every interaction could expose them. Every casual conversation could reveal their dishonesty, and suddenly their lie isn't theirs alone anymore. They understand, even if only subconsciously, that truth gathers witnesses quietly but powerfully. Every person who has seen your actions, your consistency, your integrity, adds weight to the reality the liar tried to erase. Each observer becomes a silent validator of who you are, someone whose testimony doesn't need to be loud or dramatic, just consistent and credible. The liar senses the slow accumulation of these witnesses, and with each passing day, the walls of their fabricated narrative begin to crumble. Avoiding you becomes their survival tactic. Being near you risks confrontation with reality, and reality doesn't care about lies or manipulations. They stay away to minimize the chance that someone will connect the dots while they are present, to delay exposure, and to protect what little credibility they have left. Every step back, every silence, every careful maneuver is fueled by the fear that their deception is on the verge of public collapse. Meanwhile, you continue moving through life untouched, unaware of the invisible army of witnesses your authenticity has quietly created. The irony is sharp. Your presence alone amplifies the truth without any effort from your side, while the liar becomes increasingly trapped by the very narrative they tried to control. The more they retreat, the more obvious their fear becomes, proving that the power of truth, quietly observed and steadily validated, is far stronger than any lie could ever be. Conclusion. In the end, the story is clear. Lies have a way of backfiring, especially when they target the wrong person. Every lie told about you, every false narrative, and every attempt to manipulate perception has only highlighted your strength, consistency, and authenticity. The very people who tried to undermine you now keep their distance, not because you did anything, not because you confronted them, but because the truth has quietly done its work. Your calm presence, integrity, and natural influence have exposed deception without effort, creating a silent hierarchy where honesty and character always win. Those who lied are trapped by their own actions. Their fear, avoidance, and hesitation reveal more about them than any words ever could. They miscalculated your power, underestimated your reach, and now the truth gathers witnesses who silently validate your reality. Distance, avoidance, and anxiety are all they have left. Meanwhile, you move through life untouched, unshaken, and unbothered, letting the natural order of honesty and authenticity dismantle every falsehood aimed at you. This isn't just a story about lies and deceit. It's a reminder of the invisible power of integrity, the quiet influence of authenticity, and the unstoppable force of truth. Those who act in dishonesty are always exposed in time, and those who live with consistency and grace naturally rise above every attempt to undermine them. You didn't need to fight. You simply needed to exist. If this resonates with you and you want more insights like this that reveal the hidden truths behind human behavior, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, comment your thoughts, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Every action spreads awareness, amplifies the truth, and reminds us all that authenticity always prevails. Stay blessed always.